Hi, morning. All right. Last video for this morning, I think, is from a question from Michelle. Good morning, Michelle. And okay, so the question is just, yeah, super cryptic, but I get it. Yeah. Please explain a narrow bottleneck virus. Yeah. What the heck does that mean? Yeah, okay, fine. So, yeah, this is a kind of an evolutionary term, and it's related to quasi-species, which I'm definitely not going to put in the title because then nobody would watch this. Yeah, because it would seem hard. It's actually not that hard. Yeah. So the idea of bottlenecking. Okay, what's that mean? So let's say you start out with a population. They're genetically identical. And then this population have kids. And so, they start out kind of as clones, and then gradually the kids pick up more and more and more mutations. Rather, the parents put more mutations into the DNA when making the kids. Yeah, because that's how it works. And so, boom, now you have this kind of cloud. It sort of started from the parents, or parent if it's bacteria or something like that. But yeah, now you got a cloud. There we go. Now, the idea is that, say you take this member out here of the cloud. Let's say it's got like 5 mutations in it. So each of those mutations is probably bad for the virus in some small way. Viruses can tolerate mutations, but mutations very rarely make a virus better and almost always make a virus a little bit worse or a lot worse at doing some aspect of its job. So why do viruses mutate? Well, they make mistakes in order to make not just one virus, but a cloud of viruses. Because that gives the logic is that even though they have no idea what's going on and are totally not conscious, this gives the population the best chance of getting through, of being successful, and passing on the genes from some part of the population. It's a weird kind of group evolution concept. Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing. Yeah. And so you don't ever have just like one virus that comes in. You have one virus that comes in, makes a whole lot of mistakes, and so there's all the other cloud of viruses that spread out, but they're all kind of related back to one virus. So anyway, let's say something bad happens to the virus. Let's say you make a great immune response, and just every virus that happens to be walking around at that particular time gets wiped out. Let's say there's one virus that was hanging back using the loo or something like that, and just sort of stumbles out like the guy in Pulp Fiction. Yeah, and says, "What happened here?" Yeah. So in that case, you got one virus that's coming out. The rest of the population has been annihilated, and so if it happens to be the starter virus right at the center of the cloud, then that's probably in pretty good shape because that's the one that actually got passed on. That was the winner from the last round that made it over here. That was like good enough, and then made its little cloud of mutants. But chances are it's not that exact one. Chances are it's got some mutations which make it a little bit worse. And so the bottleneck means an event where most of the population gets stopped, in other words, dies, yeah, and just a couple of weirdos go through. And so now all the weirdos that come out, like say there's just one virus left with those 5 mutations, now what are the odds that the new viruses that it makes are going to have, more mutations? Odds are really high, right? Because the virus has so many places. Let's say this virus is 10,000 bases long. And let's say it's got 5 mutations somewhere in there, and let's say the process of mutation is random, which it is, yeah, for the most part. So what are the odds that it's going to find one of those 5 and randomly change it exactly back to the perfect nucleotide? Remember, there's 4 nucleotides at every possible position, that could be there. Well, yeah, what are the odds that it changes it back just on its own, just because? Yeah, the odds are pretty small. Yeah, about 1 in 10,000 times 1 in 4, yeah, or 1 in 3, I guess, because it's already one nucleotide and they can change to 3 others. Yeah. What are the odds that it changes something else? Yeah, so it's about 30,000 to 1 odds that it changes something else as compared to the thing that it already changed. And so viruses just keep getting weirder, and genomes just keep getting weirder, and populations just keep getting weirder when they get bottlenecked. A bottleneck, which, yeah, there you go. Imagine the shoulders are like the bottle. Imagine this is the bottleneck. And then the ones that come through are super weird. There we go, super weird. And the super weird ones will then be also kind of weak because they are not going to be the fittest one necessarily from the last population that was like best at its job. They'll just be whoever didn't happen to get crushed by the asteroid or destroyed by the immune system or whatever, just, some almost random event. And so all of the new viruses that come from that are going to have these 5 mutations, which are like 5 problems, plus whatever new problems they build up. And so basically you can end up with kind of weakened, beat up viruses that just don't work very well after selection. So natural selection doesn't always make the virus better. When you have a real good bottleneck event, all the virus that comes out on the other side can be at a real disadvantage, and this is great for us because we really don't want the viruses to win. So there we go. I hope that all made sense. Yeah, bottleneck just traps whatever mutations you have, and then you're going to add to them, and eventually you're going to make that mutation that, each mutation, think of it as like 5% worse, 5% worse, and then eventually you're going to make a mutation that's really bad. It's like 50% worse, and then boom, yeah, just dead. Or you're going to be starting from a position where you're at best like half as good as you used to be. Yeah. That's bottlenecking. And so, yeah, when a virus goes through a narrow bottleneck, it comes out weirder and weaker on the other side. And this is an okay thing. So there we go. That's at least as I understand it, virus bottlenecking. Thanks very much. This has been Ask Dr.